Okay, this example is to write a rule, a geometric rule, knowing two terms, but neither of them is the first term, and you don't know R, the common ratio. So if you think about the actual formula for a geometric sequence, I'll just kind of write it up here. A sub n equals a sub 1 times the ratio to the n minus 1. And you know two terms, and I'm going to clarify that this term right here, a sub 2 equals 10, is really saying the second term, a sub 2, right, will yield you a term value of 10. So if you go to the second slot in the pattern, in other words, that's saying second slot in the pattern will give you a value of 10. So the other sequence, a sub 7 equals negative 320, is saying when n is 7, or the seventh term, will yield you a value of negative 320. And I think it's really important that you understand what that, what those variables are giving you. So knowing that, all I can do is do a system of equations, knowing these two scenarios, and the unknowns, of course, are a sub 1 and r. So I'll go to the first equation here, knowing, and keep in mind, I'm using this formula right here. So, but starting with the first one, I know that a sub n is really 10, and n is really 2. So I'm just going to fill that in. So a sub n is 10. I don't know a sub 1, and I don't know r, but n minus 1, n is 2. Okay, so I'll simplify that, and that's just r, a sub 1 times r. Then the second term, I know that a sub n is negative 320, and I know that n is 7, so I'm going to plug that in. So negative 320 equals a sub 1 times my ratio to the 7 minus 1, and of course when I simplify that, I get a sub 1 times r to the 6th. Then it's just a substitution game, and really I could solve this one for a sub 1 and substitute it over here, or vice versa, solve this one for a sub 1 and substitute it over there. I would recommend solving the a sub 1 for the smaller exponent r, although it really does not matter. So for example, if I do 10 divided by r equals a sub 1, then I'm going to substitute that over into the other equations a sub 1. So that would give me negative 320 equals 10 over r, I'm substituting my a sub 1, times r to the 6th. And just to make sure that you see this okay, I'm going to put that r to the 6th over 1. And then I can see that I can cross-reduce, of course, my r's, right? So this is really negative 320 equals 10 r to the 5th. And then I can divide by 10. So that's going to be negative 32 equals r to the 5th. And fifth root both sides, which works out nicely, right? So the fifth root of negative 32 is negative 2. And there's my common ratio. Well, now that I know my common ratio, I can substitute that back into this convenient equation. So 10 divided by negative 2 is my first term, which is obviously negative 5. And I have all my pieces to write my final equation. So my final equation is a sub n equals my first term times my ratio to the n minus 1. And that's your final answer. So again, I started with substituting the 2 points into the geometric equation, and then I solved one of them for a sub 1 and substituted into the opposite, and then just did some algebra to figure out the answer.